Hey everyone, Lonnie here. This week I'm continuing my process of how I create more space in my shop. Last video I created a new stand for my bandsaw, created storage underneath of it for my scroll saws, and had some surprisingly good side effects that I hadn't counted on. Now, by creating a square case or stand to put my bandsaw on, I created space underneath of it for my scroll saws. I got some storage space on top of it for things I kept with the bandsaw anyway. And by doing away with the angled legs, I was able to move the whole unit over, not really displacing where the bandsaw originally set. But inadvertently created a space to store my shop stools, which opens up floor space in the shop. Now on the plus side, I've got the underneath of the workbench cleared out. I'm going to put a wood rack in here and a little storage down here. But when you're moving stuff around your shop to create more space, a lot of times you displace little items. These little items is what I'm going to address before I go to moving on any further. Now, storage of your small working pieces or tools like your bench hooks, improvised feather boards, mallets, all these things play a part in how you work your shop. Ease and access is important. Now this is my glue rack. It's a simple tool. I don't remember what I originally made it for, but it's come in real handy. I've added on, modified it a few times. Beforehand, I store it right behind the bandsaw. Due to a ledge that encompasses my shop, I still got space back there for storage, but I'm going to redo this today just to make it fit better and to make it a little more useful. As you can tell, there's not a lot to this. The general idea was I needed to get the piece at the time up off the table and hold it flat for clamping. Now, I've thought of a few ideas since then. I've had to add on, wings to extend the width of it, and I added on some more ribs to the center of it when I had to glue smaller pieces. Now I'm going to incorporate these ideas into my new one. Now I will salvage all my wood screws out of this, but I used some pretty good wood glue, so the rest of it might be kind of just trashed. Now some of the stuff I'm going to incorporate into my next one is this width. I added these wings on. They've come in handy quite a few times. They're about 188 centimeters or 2 foot 11 inches. Now these ribs in the middle I added on to do smaller pieces. I'm going to probably make them about 26 centimeters or approximately 10 inches from the ends. And what I want to do is create a center area that is more stable, so I'll probably have 2 spines and have it low enough where I can just lay clamps on here and leave my hands free when I'm trying to clamp the underside. Now the space between the back of the cabinet and the wall is crucial. This is where I'll be storing it at. Now 10 centimeters will give me a little leeway. There's about almost 12 centimeters worth of space, or 4.5 inches. So I'm going to make it approximately 4 inches or 10 centimeters tall on the main body. Now before I cut the spines down to their final width, I'm going to plane one side of them. I already have on these 2 boards here. Now this is a small project. I'm not going to break out my little joining jig. I'm just going to use a hand plane. It'll take me just a couple of minutes. But I do need one side as flat as possible because I need these to sit on a table in the end absolutely square. And I'll just plane them literally 2 at a time, join together. Now once all the pieces are cut, take the ribs, lay them out as such. Just kind of butt them up against one another. Now what I want to mark is where I'm going to glue the spines in. To make it more stable, I want to keep them wide, but I want to stay narrower than my main workbench or my portable workbench. So since these are 80 centimeters long, I'm going to come in about 20 centimeters on each side. Using permanent marker on this, it shows up better on camera, and it's a utilitarian project. Don't have to be super precise. It really isn't rocket science. And just take your middle board and flip it. Line everything back up again. The middle one's the only one you got to put marks on both sides. You do want to make sure that when you're all done, that where you made sure you had a straight edge is flat down. Flat edge down. I made my spines at two different lengths. One was a little shorter, that way if I'm working with smaller pieces, I can have that short distance. The others are just a little longer to give me more overall length. You don't want to mix these two up though. And just a little hot glue. Probably a little more than I need. Flat edge down. Squish. And squish. Give it just a second to dry. And it only takes a second with hot glue. Same thing with the next end. A little hot glue. Put it up against it. And you just hold it for a second. You might want to make sure you don't glue it to the table just in case. Stuff does happen. And we'll do this just one at a time down here. Got a little gap. Get gaps like this if you neglect to trim up the ends of your board. Cool thing with hot glue, it'll fill in them gaps pretty good. And you can touch it up on both sides and tops. And then you get down to the very last one, just line it up, get the squirt. Be sure to work quickly and continuously make sure you haven't glued it to your work surface. Hot glue is forgiving in the short term. I'm just going to add a little on to some of the outsides of these joints. Now, after everything is done, you're probably wondering, well, what's the point? What the glue rack does is allow you to keep a piece stable and flat while you're clamping. If you're worried about bending something just slightly out, to use it is very simple. You lay your bottom clamps right in here. They will sit below what you're attempting to clamp. The different sizes will help you make adjustments if you're gluing multiple size boards. That one might be too warped to use as a demo. Anyway. Once you have them where you like them, glue's been applied, you start clamping. And that's essentially what it does. You can add a clamp underneath to the ends while you've got everything held in place, or add a few more across the top. Well, that's it for this project. I've now got the displaced tool rebuilt in a new home for it. Next video I'll probably start on the tools that were displaced from the bottom of the main workbench, and we'll do a small wood storage rack and move on from there. Thanks for taking time to watch. Please subscribe, and any and all comments are welcome. Thank you.